Greetings guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. Today I thought it would be fun to indulge in some nostalgia, and by that I mean reminisce in the good old days that was Facebook, which there's like what 2.2 billion active users like every day, every month. That's a big difference between day and month. But anyway, that's a lot of people. A lot of people are on Facebook. Here I was living my life thinking Facebook had died and no one used it anymore. But apparently I'm wrong. And apparently the people in my life have been lying to me. All you fellow like Gen Zers who are about my age and a little bit older, you're all lying. You're all still using Facebook. Admit it. You're all on there, and you made me stop using the app because I was like, Facebook, that's not cool, and I like being like the other girls, and everyone's still out there using it? I've been backstabbed, betrayed. Anyway, I don't use Facebook. I haven't for a really long time. I open it up occasionally, so I guess I am one of those 2.2 billion monthly users. Very, very occasionally I'll open it up to go find like an old photo or something. And occasionally I'll open it and I'll be on like my home feed and I'll see people with like life updates and I'm like, what do you mean 3 people I went to school with just got married? How did that happen? What do you mean this person's having their second child? I found out recently that one of my good friends from like year 9 and 10 has 2 kids with my cousin's cousin. So that one was weird. That one threw me through a freaking loop. It was so funny. She posted like a photo of her baby and I was like, why does that baby look a lot like my cousin? And then I found out it's because it's my cousin's kid. So that was an interesting one for sure. Anyway, basically I went onto Reddit and I came across this subreddit called Bad Facebook Memes. And I just wanted to go through and I wanted to look at some of the best Facebook memes because we all deserve something to laugh at. We all deserve to remember why we don't use the app anymore because we want to avoid the terrible posts from our conservative family members. When I used to post on Facebook, I used to be an avid Facebook user as a teenager, right? I used it so much. I reposted a lot. I have lived on the internet my entire life, right? As a teenager, I remember I would post political stuff. I post a lot of feminist stuff. I've always been like that. But when I was about 14, I think, my auntie and uncle who shared an account who are like homophobic and they are brethren. They added me as a friend on Facebook and I had to accept because we have like weird family drama and if I didn't, they would never shut up and complain about it to my mom all the time. Anyways, so what I did was I accepted it. And then upon accepting their request, I just spent all day, every day reposting gay memes. Every like pro-queer post I could find, every update on like positive queer news, I reposted it because I needed them to see it and I needed to piss them off. So I had like a mission and I just kept doing it until eventually I believe she unfriended me in the end. Anyway, that was a really long-winded off-topic thing about my conservative family that I don't really ever talk to because there's no need and I don't need that energy in my life. We don't have very strong emphasis on the importance of family in my house. It's very much just like, if you don't want to talk to them, don't fucking talk to them. You don't know them shit. Anyway, on to the memes, because I've been sitting here blabbling, because I've been sitting here blabbing for literally 10 minutes, and that was not my intention. So before we get into it, I would like to say a massive thank you to today's patron of the day, Evie. I love and appreciate you hugely. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. I appreciate your support and I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you would like to become a patron, you go to patreon.com/savvycat. It starts as little as £1 a month and I will tell you more about it at the end. So if you want to hear more, stick around. Let's get into the memes, finally. Okay, I'm actually gonna start the video now. We'll start with a classic Facebook meme, you know, like a text post with emojis, and this one has a bonus American flag behind it, and it says, "Joke time, freedom funnies." A big city liberal walks into a bar. The bartender asks what the liberal wants. The liberal orders a venti mocha snowflake crappuccino. The bartender says, "Get that liberal shit out of here." You get it? Isn't that so funny? Because liberals have long coffee orders. That's what makes you a liberal. Obviously, that's the distinguishing factor. I do have a question really quick. Who's going to a bar to order coffee? I respect it. If there's someone at like 9 p.m. on a Friday night who goes into a bar to order coffee, I genuinely like deeply respect that. Although I really doubt that any bar has like fancy coffee. And I respect trying. I don't believe there's any crossover between your coffee preferences and your political views. As far as I'm aware, last I checked, there is absolutely no crossover at all. Like, does this go the other way? Does this mean that if someone walks into a bar, you know, the standard place to get your coffee, and orders like an Americano, does that mean you're going to assume they're conservative? Is that what this means? Does this go both ways? Because I am gonna have to start rethinking my coffee order then, because I cannot be having people think that I'm conservative because I don't like sweet coffee. Apparently that's the message I'm putting out there though. I don't like sweet coffee, so that must mean that I am a conservative. And this is how I find out. This next one follows on really nicely because conservatives have this weird obsession about coffee, I suppose. And not in the cool fun way like I have an obsession about coffee. An illustrated guide to coffee. Actual coffee. Water, and it's like 2/3 of the cup. Espresso is 1/3 of the cup. And then pumpkin spice chai maca macchiato, aka not coffee. And then it's like a little bit of espresso, pumpkin sauce, steamed milk, sugar, whipped cream, and sprinkles and shit. I want to start this one off by saying, I don't think you know what a maca is. There is no chocolate in this coffee. So therefore, it is not a maca. And if you don't know what a maca is, you can't pretend to try to be this coffee connoisseur that you are trying to be. If you don't know the difference between different types of coffee and you don't know what a maca is, you can't speak on coffee because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And your points are nullified. If your idea of coffee is just like coffee and water and that's it, and you refuse to look at or learn about anything else, you don't know shit about coffee and you aren't allowed to talk about coffee because fuck you. See, this is coming from someone who is a self-proclaimed coffee snob myself, all right? I am a coffee snob. I care way too much about coffee. I can't function without my coffee. I will drink up to like 5 cups of coffee a day. A lot of the people who talk about coffee like this, like I'm assuming this person is American, purely for vibes purposes. Most of the coffee that you drink in the US is like gross filter coffee. And a lot of the espresso there is not great either. Like people like to get coffee from like Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts and shit, and that's not the best coffee. And so it makes a lot of sense to want to add flavor to that because it just, you know, makes it more enjoyable to drink. And people want to drink things because it tastes good, not just so they can be like, I drink dirt water, you know? Like, if the reason you're drinking black coffee is purely just because you think that drinking anything else is like liberal bullshit, then why? What are you doing? Drink it because you like it, not because you think it proves a point. Leave people alone. If you can't describe your job in 3 words, you have a bullshit job. So bullshit jobs include, I'm a SaaS-based fintech sales analyst. I develop and maintain automated capabilities. I create systems to record blockchain data. So those are all bullshit jobs. But a real job is, I catch fish. I feel like the other jobs that were described here could have been described in less words. You just decided to make them into more. And I also think that you underestimate how important so many jobs are. Like, being a fisherman, arguably extremely unimportant. We could all live totally well and good, fine lives without fish. I've been doing that for over a decade. More fish live, less pollution. You know, overfishing is a massive issue. So like, we don't need fishermen. people who work in like sales and technology and data analyzing, they're kind of important jobs given the like time we live in. They're quite important. And if you want to say that a real job you have to be able to describe in less than 3 words, all right, you're going to have to stop saying a bunch of jobs aren't real jobs, right? Because I'm a YouTuber, right? That's 1 word. I'm a YouTuber. Or if you want me to describe what I do, I make videos. There we go. So now you have to acknowledge that I have a good, real, valid job. And you have to do that for a lot of jobs you like to say are like, you know, not real jobs, like actors, models, musicians, artists, sex workers, etc., because all of them can be described in 3 words. I make music. I play characters. I write books. I paint things. I strip. I have sex. The list goes on. So many jobs can be described in 3 words. And although that is not the rule, obviously, of what makes a job, like, valid or not, if you're going to use this logic, you have to accept everyone that fits into that. So, great. I'm glad that you can never argue against these points ever again. This is a small child on a small motorbike with their dad kneeling down and saying something to them. And it says, because no boy remembers when his dad played video games. And that's just not true. That's just like not even true, even a little bit. Like, are you trying to say that, like, as an adult, your child won't remember the times you played video games with them? Because that's incorrect on so many levels. Like, so many people have nostalgia attached to games because they used to play them with their dad or their mom or parent, etc., you know? Like, I have such fond memories as a child of playing, like, Jungle Party Buzz with my parents. Like, that was some of my favorite memories. Or I used to play, like, this Lilo and Stitch PlayStation 2 game, and there was one level I always got stuck on, and I always had to get my dad in to complete the level for me so I could keep playing. Like, most of the quality time I spent with my dad as a kid was playing games, whether it be silly little video games like Jungle Party Buzz or SingStar, or like board games. Most of my time with my dad, even into adulthood, most of the time I spent with my dad was playing games of some description. So I do remember that above all else. And I know a lot of people who have emotional, like, nostalgic attachment to specific games because they're games they played with their dad growing up. Same with, like, movies and TV shows. There's a lot of movies people are attached to because they have memories of watching them with their dad growing up. You know, like, you remember anything that you do with your parents. And if you're trying to say, like, your kid won't remember you playing video games while, like, you know, instead of looking after them, your kid will remember that. They absolutely will. It won't be positively, but they will definitely remember it. If you're trying to encourage dads to spend time with their kids, good. But this is worded as though you're saying don't play games with your kids, which I disagree with. So if you're trying to tell dads to spend time with their kids, word it better. I want to put a teenager in this room and tell them at past, find the game on AM and turn on channel 27. Call me when you're done. And then watch and laugh. And it's like a room with like a TV, a radio, and a phone from like the 70s. And an analog clock. Because, get it, kids don't know how to do all of this stuff anymore. And that's so funny. Maybe it's because people don't have to know how to do that anymore. Like, it's unimportant. Why would I need to know how to use a TV from the 70s? I'm never going to use it. It's never going to be a practical use to me. Why would I need to know how to use that radio? Like, it's never going to come in handy. I don't learn skills that I'm never going to use, you know? I do learn skills that I'm never going to use. I did trigonometry forever, but like, that comes in handy for some people. I'm never going to need to do this unless I'm locked in the room by some fucking ridiculous old man who thinks that it's funny. Why are you so obsessed with people needing to know how things worked back in the 70s? I'm sure you wouldn't know how to use half the shit that your parents used. when they were kids, because it's not necessary. It wasn't needed for you, you know? What if I locked you in a room and you had to like complete a level of a video game and then film, edit, and caption a TikTok and then build a website from scratch on a laptop with no mouse? What if I get you to do that? I know that those were like much more complicated things, but we've simplified a lot of stuff, you know? Like our TVs don't require that much effort anymore because they made it more user-friendly, as they should. We all know different things. We all grew up with different technology, and some stuff isn't needed anymore. I'll admit people should be able to read clocks because sometimes there are only analog clocks available, but as far as I am aware, you still learn how to do that at school. And also sometimes that can come down to like other issues like dyslexia or things like that. Like I have a cousin who is 12 years older than me who can't read an analog clock because she just can't read an analog clock. And that's fine. You know, it's like a handy skill, but it's also not like super necessary. No matter what you do to this building, everyone knows it used to be a Pizza Hut. That's what the trans community fails to understand. And it's an old Pizza Hut. So it has like a red roof that's like shaped like a hat. And it says Pizza Hut, but like, you know, it's got like the sun bleach, like the letters where the letters used to be. So the sun didn't get there. So it's got like a Pizza Hut tan line. And here's the thing about this one though, is that this isn't even remotely even a little bit true. No matter what you do, everyone will know that this used to be a Pizza Hut. No? Because like if you paint that roof, like you could even paint it red again, but you could paint it any other color, you would then be hiding where it used to say Pizza Hut. And you could change the entire interior to be literally anything else. They could turn this into a Bed Bath & Beyond. And like, sure, if you are from that town or live in close proximity to that place, you'll know that it used to be a Pizza Hut. Sure. Yeah, you'll have that knowledge. But anyone who's coming in as a visitor or anyone who is like new to the area or like kids and things, they won't know. They won't have any idea that that used to be a Pizza Hut. And even if you are aware that it used to be a Pizza Hut, once it is an up and running, open Bed Bath & Beyond, you're not going to call it Pizza Hut anymore, are you? You're not going to say, oh, I'm going to go to Pizza Hut and grab some new bed sheets. No, you're going to say, hey, I'm going to the Bed Bath & Beyond. Sure, you know that it used to be a Pizza Hut because when you were a kid, it was a Pizza Hut. It's not anymore, and so you're not going to call it that anymore because that's weird. And you're not getting pizza there. You're not going to get pizza. It's not a Pizza Hut. It's a Bed Bath & Beyond. And you would never call it a Pizza Hut. I think you get the point. And obviously trans people aren't fucking buildings and shit, but like this was a really terrible metaphor to try to prove the point that like you can't be trans because you absolutely can change buildings. And people will respect that. Transphobic arguments like backfire 99% of the time because they never actually have solid ground because they're all such stupid arguments that like literally are so pointless because it literally doesn't matter. So yeah, anyway. My rent went up again. We need to raise taxes on those greedy capitalist landlords. Maybe if you let them keep more of their money, they could afford to let you keep more of yours. Turning Point, USA. I don't think you understand what greed is. No, I don't think that would make a difference. I don't think it would, honestly. You know, the real solution here is that maybe landlords shouldn't be buying up a bunch of property so that I can't buy my own home. Tax them more so they can't buy another house so that someone else has to pay them a ton of money so that they can buy another house so that someone else, you know, it's a terrible cycle. Just like buy a house that you want to live in and then let other people buy houses that they want to live in. You can even have like a couple of houses. That's fine. You want a house to live in and like a holiday house? That's fine. You can do that. But you don't need to buy like 50 houses and then make people pay you to live in them and then be like, the government is taking money from me. Person living in my house, pay me more money. No, just like don't, just like don't buy houses. that you don't want to live in. And then maybe you won't get taxed so much. I don't know, man. Just like, let people live in houses. 1800s, I'm working 16 hours a day. 1900s, I'm off to fight a war. 2000s, I'm offended. A couple things. One, you do realize that people currently work 16 hours a day and also fight in wars, right? Back in the 1900s, which by the way is that's a big, broad spectrum of time. That's 100 years. Most people did not go to war. There was like a few years where obviously there were horrific events and a lot of people did have to go to war, but that wasn't the course of the entire century. And it also wasn't everyone. And then the 1800s, same sort of thing. 100 years it's a big chunk of time, and not everyone worked 16 hours a day. This is very much a class thing, an elitist thing that still exists right now, by the way. If you for a second think that those people weren't upset about it, you're out of your mind. You think the people who were working 16 hours a day were like, woo, yeah, let me get out of bed and put on my best work clothes and go work all day today so I can fucking die in an early grave. And that the people going to war are like, woohoo, I love war. Fighting is cool. I love being torn away from my family and possibly never ever going back and seeing them because there's a really high chance of me dying. No. People have always been used as pawns. People have always been hurt by words and actions of others. This has always been a thing. Yeah? It's always a thing. And these things are still happening now, wars and overworking. And people are still upset about it and complaining about it. And even if, say, they weren't, let's say people weren't fighting in wars currently or working 16 hours a day currently, I don't think you should be talking about it like that's a goal. Like we should be doing that. Because we shouldn't be. It should be a good thing that we don't have to do that anymore. It should be a good thing that we're now able to speak out against the government and like inhumane laws and labor laws and stuff. That should be a good thing. It's bad that people had to work 16 hours a day and they couldn't say anything or do anything. Surely it should be good that now when people are being overworked, that they're like, hey, this is fucking not cool. This sucks. Surely that's a good thing. Yeah? The people in the 1800s would be so stoked. They wish they could have done that. So stop talking on behalf of dead people. That's not cool. Without a single degree, they built us roads that have lasted an eternity. And it's like ancient Rome building like roads out of stones and stuff. And then engineers arrived and it's like a concrete road with lots of potholes in it. I don't think you know what an eternity is. For starters. An eternity has not happened yet. It's been like hundreds of years, thousands of years possibly. I don't know. I'm not a historian. I didn't take history at school. It's been a long time, all right? I'll give you that. But also, capitalism. Supply and demand, greed. We have a quality over quantity system in place. We have capitalism in place. People will do the job how you pay them to do the job. And construction workers are not getting paid enough to go and do a fucking like ancient Roman fucking road. Also, we don't have the time for that. People need roads and they need them like immediately, or they can't go to work, and then if they can't go to work, the economy collapses because we live in a very fragile system. If you want nice, sturdy roads that are going to last an eternity, we need the resources, and we need the time, and we need the investment. If you want roads like that, you can pay for them. I'm sure someone would be happy to do that. Those roads are like art, right? People would love to make roads like that. But they'd be really expensive, and you don't want to tax the rich, and the government doesn't want to give more of their money away. So if you want to fund them, be my guest. I'm sure someone would be happy to do it, but you're gonna need to get some like council clearance. You're gonna have to find someone who's like knows how to do it. You're gonna have to find some good like natural resources for all of the rocks and stuff. We're just not built for it anymore. Capitalism. We love it. It's great. It's so good. It's ruined art. So the Good Reset. And we have above ground, like they're in like a farm with a big tree, and there's blue skies, and there's a man and a woman labeled clearly, and then lots of children with functioning immune systems, and there's shrinking cities, happy farmers, clear skies, no turbines, clean water, open church, books, okay with risk, no EMF waves, and naturally controlled CO2 levels. And I find this quite funny because farms already exist. You can live in the countryside if you want to. No one is stopping you from doing that. You can remove yourself from society and like live off of the land if you want to do that. That is totally a possibility for you. You can do that. I can't promise you clean water if you're going to be farming, because farming destroys waterways. So keep that in mind. Maybe if you've got like, you know, a small family farm and you're only feeding your own family and you're not like a commercial farm, you're not selling any, you've only got like 1 or 2 animals, then like, yeah, all right, you might be able to get, you can probably have clean water. That's fine. Go off. I don't know if it's going to improve your immune systems. I think you don't know how immune systems work entirely. I think, you know, kids were dying before. People, historically, people used to die very, very young. Before we had like medicine and vaccines and stuff, people died in their 30s. So you can try live your life without medicine. It works for some people, but I don't think you understand how immune systems work. Do just remember though, if you want to go remove yourself from society and live in the countryside in a small community of people whom you like go to church with, and you together will like, you know, create food for one another and have like a system that works where you get to live off of the land and everyone sort of like lives together nicely in harmony and in community, that is communism. So if that's what you want, know what you want. Just know what you're asking for here. We will end on one final one, which I hate, I despise, and so I needed to share it because oh my god. And that is this comic of Mother Nature spanking Greta Thunberg, saying, "You little brat, it's cold weather, it's the 4 seasons, CO2 is good for the planet, you can't fool Mother Nature, now stop bothering people." And she's saying, "How dare you," and crying, and then in the background there's like rainbow and butterfly and sun and wind and trees and a polar bear and, you know, the weather and stuff. Firstly, the how dare you thing was like years ago, like literally over 5 years ago, like 6 years ago now, I think. So like, please move on. She was like 15 and it was like 6 years ago. Like, move along, please. Please, just let it go. It's been so long. And I don't think you understand climate. I don't think you understand nature. I don't think you understand anything, and you choose not to. You would like to pretend that, you know, it's out of your control and that this is just how the world goes and it's just seasons. But it's not, all right? You want to talk about like seasons and how this is just how weather works. My country, New Zealand, Aotearoa, is currently under fucking water, all right? It's summer, and they have had a month worth of rain on 3 separate days in the North Island. And there was a Cyclone Gabriel, that came and like literally like wiped out entire towns. People watched their like infant child be like dragged away in floodwater. Entire towns have been completely wiped out. Thousands of people have lost their homes and all of their possessions. Obviously, New Zealand is largely a farm country, and so a lot of produce is gone. There's a lot of food that is no longer available. They have to rebuild entire towns. Having over a foot of rain in a day, 3 separate times within a month in summer. You cannot say that that is just the weather. That's just seasons. That's just how, that's not normal. That's terrifying. That is not a normal thing to happen. And you can look away from it all you like. I know a lot of people don't really know what's going on in New Zealand. We're a small place. It's kind of upsetting sometimes, you know, that like no one ever really knows what's going on, and a lot of people don't particularly listen when you talk about it because not as many people are affected. But anyway, it's been awful there, and I know a lot of people who have lost their homes. The first thing that we would talk about when talking about climate change back in New Zealand is that we're gonna go first. New Zealand is gonna be underwater. We're gonna go first. The country's gonna fucking drown. And to see that happening is like actually really fucking terrifying. Like New Zealand and like the Pacific Islands, Cook Islands, etc. are like the first to go, you know? And it's fucking happening and no one's talking about it. And I think that it's very important for like, if you weren't aware and you didn't know that that was happening, it's quite scary. Yeah, I think I already played it in one of my videos already, but like my dog being able to swim in a park that doesn't usually have water. And my dog is a big boy. He is a golden retriever border collie cross. He weighs like 30 kilos. He's a big boy. And going to just like a football field and being able to literally swim to get his ball in the middle of summer, it's not normal. And like New Zealand's a big farm country, and you know, farming is a massive, massive contributor. But, you know, a lot of the farms have been wiped out now. A lot of people are out of jobs. Farming is the number one thing that keeps our economy afloat. The number one dairy exporter in the world. It's like most of the way our country makes money. So, I mean, I don't live there anymore, but most of my family and friends do. And it'll be interesting to see sort of what happens now, because shit's fucked, you know? Anyway, if you want to donate to help people rebuild back in New Zealand, I will leave a donation link in the description. So please do if you can. I would set this as a fundraiser, but YouTube does not allow you to set fundraisers for any organizations outside of the US, which is fun. So yeah, if you want to donate there, then I will leave a link in the description, and it'll help out a lot. So thank you. I'm going to leave this video here. It ended on a very real note. Facebook is a fun place. Yeah, that's what we've learned today. Never go on Facebook unless it is to repost gay memes to piss off your homophobic auntie. And then, by all means, go ahead. I fully support it, and that is how you should use Facebook, I believe. Yeah, a massive thank you to my Sprout and Above patrons whose names are up on the screen right now. And a huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons: Wolf, Toulouse, Bobby, Josh, Mandy, Robbie, Ikazel, Kai, Jessica, Eldo, Ida, Quia Corey, Mick McKenna, Anna, Raven, Danielle, Elias, Evie, and JD Creeper. I love and appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much for joining. If you would like to become a patron, you go to patreon.com/savvycat or click the top link in the description. For as little as £1 a month, you get my videos a day early, as well as podcasts a week early. And then for £3 and up, you get things such as outtakes, a bonus mini podcast, a live stream, and more. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, The Queer Kiwi, and Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah.